Hi, I'm Ali and welcome to the China Repair Studio. And so today I thought I would just go through some of my brushes. But before I do, if you haven't subscribed before, please subscribe, please like, and also please share. Right, so here we are with a little array of brushes, and I just want to go through a few with you. Now, first things first, I'm going to go through the large ones. Now, these are very large flat brushes, and now I tend to use these, and they are synthetic, and I use these when I'm glazing mainly because if you glaze, the glaze dries very quickly, and so you want something flat and quick. And I do find that using a flat brush that you don't end up with lines when you are actually glazing. And I have a big selection here. I have the thicker ones, some very long, larger ones, and some small ones here. Now I tend to use the larger ones when I'm doing large spaces such as plates, for instance. This one seems to be slightly softer, and this is a Rowney one, and it's called One Stroke, and this is actually probably my go-to. I do have these others, which, saying that, I do tend to use these as well. These aren't so thick. I mean, they're wide, but as you can see, the thickness, this one's definitely thicker here compared to these. But they're both soft, and I would recommend getting a large flat brush and also a smaller flat brush for slightly smaller work when you're doing your glazing. Also, even if you're not glazing and you just want to paint and you don't want to use, say, a airbrush, you could use one of these. Again, you wouldn't get the lines, so you could use something like this as well. Now I have a brush here which it's a very old brush, and it's just a synthetic brush, but it's always handy to have one of these brushes because it's great for just mixing paint. So if you can, never throw your brushes away. If you can use an old one, it will be, use that, because then you can just use it with your paint to mix. Now I have a brush here because when you're painting on ceramics and pottery, apart from just doing detailed work and things like that, sometimes you need to just do effects. And because this one, it's old and a lot of the bristles have gone, which you'll find with lots of cheap brushes, the bristles do come out quicker than, say, the sable. If I can show you here, it's got a few little extra hairs sticking out here, which is great if you just want to do a little bit of stippling effect on your item. Now, the brushes here are the ones I tend to use when I'm painting by hand. This is a very large one. Again, this one's actually a mixture, and it's a Winsor & Newton brush, and it's a mixture of sable and the synthetic, and I tend to use the mixture of the two. It's nice and soft because it has the sable in there, but it's slightly cheaper than 100% sable. Sometimes I use sable, but mainly I use the sort of almost 50-50. These are really easy to get hold of on Amazon, or even if you go to your local art shop, I'm sure they'd have them. And again, they come in a range of sizes. So I have a large one here, slightly more medium one just here. And then I come to the really smaller, thin ones. Now, I have one here, which, if you can see, this is a Winsor & Newton, and it's a half synthetic, half sable. And it is a double, and it's a number 2 on here. So what I like about this, it's got a fantastic point on it, if you can see. I'll do it from there, you might see it better. And it's really important, especially if you're doing detailed work, to have a point on your brush. Now this has got quite long hairs here, so you're going to get a really good flow. You can put a large amount, say, of paint on your brush compared to this very small brush here, which is a triple O, again a Winsor & Newton. but can you see the bristles are very short, so you wouldn't be able to put too much paint on there because you'd have to keep dipping in and dipping out. So if you've got a long line to do, this wouldn't really sort of cut the mustard, if you like. You'd be better off with a slightly higher grade, you know, number, a number 2 rather than a triple O. But because it's longer, you can apply more paint on there. It's got a nice point to it, and so you'll still be able to get a very fine line. Now, as well as the brushes, paint brushes, I also use a really important brush in my collection. Now, I use this basically for cleaning, so it gets into all the crooks and crannies, all the crevices, an old toothbrush. But it's also really good for stippling. You could get your acrylic paint or even your powder pigments, which I use all these for, and you could stipple onto an item depending on the finish you want. But also you can use it with a flicking effect. So if you've got something with lots of little dots on or something, you could actually just get some paint on the very ends, and you could literally do that, and you can just transfer some of that paint onto your piece, depending on the effect you're after. Now, another thing I use, which isn't a brush as such, but it is a cocktail stick. And again, you can see it's got a very, apart from this one, that part, it does actually, they tend to have a sharp point. And again, very good for if you've just got one or two small things, such as maybe the veins on an item, or some glazing and cracking. And just to sort of slightly demonstrate, I do have a piece here, which it's quite large, and it's a cockerel. And can you just see, if you look closely, it actually has some crackle glazing on it. And so for that, I would use either a very fine brush, or you could even use a cocktail stick if you've just got one or two points. And I did actually use that. If I can just show you here. This part here, his comb, was completely missing when I bought him. So I actually put a new comb on, and if you can see, put some glazing in there as well. And with that, I used a very small paintbrush. And actually looking at him, when I brought him down from my Welsh dresser, I noticed, and because his pottery is very delicate and keeps breaking, and so it's got something missing there, so I might fix him later. And one thing I hadn't done when I had bought him, part of his tail had come off in several places, and you can see there's some glue here, which will be, it's gone yellow, so it is a quick fix glue. And so I'm going to take that off and put him back together again, probably maybe even in the next video. But the main thing is I want to demonstrate how to actually, once it's painted, to actually do this crazing effect. So here we are with our brushes. Again, if you can just get a large one of these, flat brush, a small flat brush, which is quite useful. And you know, when you're buying them, if you can get acrylic with the sable with the synthetic, sorry. So if you can get the sable with the synthetic, you will find that they are the best. If you can get one with a longer point, then you can hold more paint, and you'll also be able to get a very good, precise, fine line. So there we are. I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, if you haven't subscribed before, please subscribe, please like and please share, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Okay, bye.